Hello again, Matthew here. Second video on Colloquium and Symposium cohort posts. This is these assignments are more or less discussion posts, something that you are probably already used to from other classes, but I think they're going to be unique in a couple different ways. So first, the colloquium. The word colloquiums is simply, for our purposes, it's just a discussion. It's a conversation. And for both colloquium and symposium, you're required to basically read the course material for that week. And by Wednesdays at 3:59 p.m., which is to say right before class, post your colloquium or symposium. Now, there are specific expectations that are common to both the colloquium and the symposium. You can find that on the handout that I've provided for you on Canvas in terms of giving you instructions on how to successfully post a colloquium and a symposium. I've also provided examples for you, samples of each of those for just modeling. These are things that I've written, but again, you'll get the hang of this as time goes on. Again, this is these are assignments that are meant to be helping you in both your writing as such, but also engaging with these texts that we're reading, primary and secondary source texts, and building arguments, providing evidence for those arguments from the text, and contextualizing those in light of our historical period. Now, that's very important for skills in and of themselves, but is also important because I will be asking you to do this sort of work for your final paper. And so this is kind of like doing miniatures of that along the way. And as I might have alluded to in class, just note that as you are reading these texts throughout the weeks and responding to them in colloquium and symposium posts, and a third assignment called an interpretive textual commentary, which I will separate video for, I want you to just know that the material that you're using here, you can actually use for paper writing. Now, I don't mean copy paste, verbatim, but as you read through the course, as we engage with the course material, recognize that you're going to be drawn to particular themes, ideas, dimensions of the history of the university that you may want to write your paper on. I would encourage you to be thinking about that now. Like, start thinking about that now. Like, look through the syllabus, look through the course readings that are listed there. What might I be interested in, right? Ask yourself your current interests, your current areas of delight or what have you that might intersect with the university. So colloquium. A colloquium is a conversation. It's just basically a dialogue. And so for our purposes, more or less the colloquium is going to be in which you're responding meaningfully to the readings. Again, note the specific expectations there. You'll have to provide or engage with at least one reading from each class of each week. So at least one reading from Monday, one reading for Wednesday's class, which means, of course, you have to have read them before class. So you're not required to engage with every reading assigned, but just at least one from Monday, one from Wednesday. And while you may bring in some of the optional readings for colloquium and symposium, that is only after you have first read the required readings, right? So, like, let's say, for example, there's something relevant and interesting that I put up on Canvas, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Great. Wonderful. You can engage with that if you like, but just be sure that for the colloquium and symposium that you first are engaging with the required readings, and then if you want, you can add something from those other readings. Okay, so colloquium is a conversation. Basically, you're just reacting, responding to the readings. These are like questions, like, what is going on here? I'm not quite sure. As I read so-and-so, it seemed like they were saying this, but I'm not sure. You can ask a question of your peers in your cohort. And so, yeah, that's more or less the colloquium. So once the colloquium is posted by 3:59 p.m. Wednesday, right, that your post is now visible to only your cohort. And then a member of your cohort will kind of look down through the list and post a reply to your colloquium. And you all do that for each other, switching through different members of your cohort as the semester continues. But your replies then are due by Saturday at midnight, okay? So you just want to make sure you get a reply in. Again, description of that reply is in the handout, all right? A symposium is sort of a level up from a colloquium. It's not merely a conversation or merely a kind of just informal discussion, which the colloquium is. It's a bit more formal. And so a symposium post is where you will more or less make a reasonable, nuanced assertion, an argumentative post in which you're stating a claim, right? Ideally, that's sort of like the topic sentence of that post, because again, these are small posts, so you don't want to like go on too much. So a topic sentence, this is your argument, right? And then from that, right, you're going to make a claim, and then you're going to build out the evidence. You're going to try to prove or display sort of the proofs of that argument using the readings from the week. So one reading from Monday at least, one reading from Wednesday at least. Now, your reply in your cohorts, also due on Saturday by 11:59 p.m. or midnight. Your reply is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be anything like, hey, that was great, though there's a great place to do that, right? We're going to do that in the third assignment. This exercise is simply in, can you identify your partner's, your cohort member's argument? And the reason that's valuable and important is because A, it's important that you and I are learning how to write in such a way that we can be clearly expressing our argument, that it's locatable, it's recognized. And the exercise for symposium in terms of the reply is that's it, right? You're just reading your partner's symposium post, and you're then replying saying, as I read your post, I think you're arguing this. It seems very clear to me that you're arguing this. And if you cannot discern what they're arguing, namely if it seems like they don't have an argument or a thesis, then you need to tell them that, right? You can tell them very kindly, like, I'm having a hard time finding what you're saying here. And I hope that you'll recognize already that that's really valuable, right, for your writing, not just for this class, but in general. And so that's the nature of this Colloquium Symposium. You'll find in the handout that there is a rubric there that will help you recognize how I'm going to grade that and so on. And then at the bottom of that handout, there's also different kinds of arguments you might want to make for a symposium in particular, not a colloquium, but a symposium. And because there's all sorts of ways you can do that. Take a look at those. And again, I hope that this helps you not just for this class, but for other classes as well. All right.